Hello, everyone, and welcome to our invenioLSI webinar, Introducing Budget Horizons, Public Sector Finance with a View. My name is Alanna Robbins, and I am the Marketing Manager for the Public Sector Practice at invenioLSI. And I am so pleased to be your host today for this really compelling and interesting topic that we will be diving into. Let's meet our speakers. So today we are joined by Todd Fry, Kelsey Zeck, and Charlie Collins, and they are the brains and the creators behind Budget Horizons. So real quick, let's do a little introduction. Todd, Charlie, and Kelsey, do you mind just introducing yourself to the audience?
Go ahead, Todd, after you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Todd Fry. I was doing some math before I came into this and realized I now have 25 years of experience designing and implementing budgeting software. And looking back on some of the products I've worked on, I've been involved with the design and or implementation of Intuit Budget Solutions, Oracle's Hyperion, SAP's SPP, Infor DEPM, and now invenioLSI's solution, Budget Horizons. As my career shows, I have a long-standing commitment and passion for better budgeting. Kelsey, would you go ahead and introduce yourself too?
Yep. Hello, everyone. My name is Kelsey Zeck, and I've been a part of invenioLSI for the last 6 years. And I am a functional consultant, and I've had the pleasure of implementing our previous solution, SPP, at a few clients, and look forward to showing you Budgeting Horizons today.
And I'm Charlie Collins, and I'm the Budgeting Practice Director for invenioLSI. In budgeting, I worked in the trenches and in management for 3 different jurisdictions over 45 years. So today, I will first speak as a budgeteer and administrator of budget systems. Only 15 years ago, I extended my career in consulting. And it's really been the unexpected joy of my professional life to serve your public in this capacity. We see it as a gift that you could join us today. And our whole team is really looking forward to your thoughts, questions, and issues. Please engage. Back to you, Alanna.
Awesome. So as you can tell, there is a lot of experience in the room on this topic. Before we jump right into the webinar, I just want to give a couple of housekeeping rules. First and foremost, today's webinar is recorded, and we will be sending you the recording link in our follow-up email. So you're welcome to share that with your colleagues or be able to refer back to the recording at a later date. Additionally, this topic, I'm sure, is going to bring up lots of questions. There is a Q&A chat feature in your screen there, and you are more than welcome to ask those questions throughout the webinar. If we're able to answer them within the moment that we are talking, we will, but do know that we will be designating the last 10 to 15 minutes of today's webinar directly for answering those questions. And then last but not least, we are always looking for ways to improve our webinars. We want to hear your feedback. In our follow-up email, we will be sending out a survey. So please let us know what you think. And also, if you have additional questions that came to you at a later time, you can include those in your response as well. So let's take a look at our agenda for today. So first thing, we're just going to do a little quick introduction to invenioLSI. And then we are going to jump into the real reason why we created Budget Horizons for the public sector, get into that business background, cover some of the unique challenges that the public sector are facing right now. And then we'll really learn everything about the solution and get into a demo with Kelsey. And then we will finish out with our Q&A. So I think we have a couple of people on the call that maybe are not familiar with invenioLSI. So I just want to give you a quick glance into who we are. For those of you that are not familiar, invenioLSI is a trusted consultancy and SAP ERP implementation partner. We really specialize in the public sector. We actually got our start in 1998 at MIT Lincoln Labs. And it was one of the very first projects to utilize SAP products in this way. So although we got our start in the US, we are actually a fully global company now with over 1,000 employees across the globe in offices in the UK, the US, APAC, and the Middle East. With a technical team of 400 strong, we are always looking for ways to pioneer new technology for our partners that can make their jobs a little bit easier. And I think the Budget Horizons tool is a really great example of that. At our core, our goal is to always find ways to succeed together with our partners and our clients. So let's dig right into Budget Horizons.
So in my 45 years of budgeting, we've never seen a moment in history quite like this. Can you go to the next slide? Thank you. Whether you agree or disagree with the changes in Washington, it isn't lost on any of us budgeteers that this is not a business as usual moment. We also know that it will take every ounce of our intelligence, wisdom, and skill to navigate the current fiscal year, and at least the next 4 budget cycles, at least. The good news is we've been here before. We're not afraid of hard work. We're not afraid to make changes in our internal practices, especially when it comes to the tools of our trade, and especially the technology in our hands. I'm preaching to the choir here, or you wouldn't even be in this webinar. So what do we need? Let's go to the next slide, please. Well, we need technology that can be implemented quickly. We need technology that's easy enough for our service managers to use without a PhD, because we don't have time to spend a lot of time on training. And they don't have a lot of time to spend a lot of time on training either. We need technology that's easy enough for our staffs to change on a dime, very fast. We need technology that's fluid enough to vacuum up data we haven't even realized we need until a member of the budget committee thinks of something in a hearing. And number 5, we need technology that can handle massive amounts of data, so the promise of artificial intelligence can be realized, and we can save a ton of time doing all this planning and finding the insights from our existing solutions, our core solutions. In Budget Horizons, you will find technology that meets these needs. And more importantly, it was designed exactly for moments like this. Please enjoy the demo. We welcome your engagement with us in overcoming this latest special moment in budgeting. Thank you.
Hello,
Hey,
everybody.
Charlie, one moment, Charlie. We just got a note that your audio is going in and out just a little bit. So when you talk the next time, just bring yourself a little bit closer, perhaps, or project right into the mic, and we should be good. Thank you so much. Todd, I'll pass it to you.
Great. Budget Horizon provides a powerful end-to-end public sector budgeting solution built on top of SAC. I'm going to talk a little bit about what Budget Horizons delivers. I also want to talk about the platform it's built on. And then again, we'll follow up at the end with Kelsey doing an actual live demonstration of the product. So Budget Horizons, the thing that I think is exciting about it, and I was presenting last Friday in Florida at an ASUG meeting, and we did the presentation, and there was a level of excitement. And I had a couple of folks come out, and they wanted to show me the processes they were doing in their current budgeting solution to do some of the things we were demonstrating in a demonstration. And the thing that popped out real quickly to me was they were doing a lot of the same things we were doing, but they were doing them in 3 or 4 different products, right? From collecting the data to analyzing it to displaying it, was all across the board in different products. They were doing it, but they were jumping in and out of systems. That's kind of a very important thing about budget horizons. You can manage all aspects of your budget process in one spot, from data entry to data visualization. Another important thing, because Charlie brought it up earlier, this future of AI is upon us now. It's real. But one of the key things about AI, and I've heard this saying for the many years I've been in software and software implementation, garbage in, garbage out, that still applies to AI, right? But with SAC and Budget Horizons, with all the integration options delivered, you can integrate with a lot of different SAP and non-SAP connections, both live, even all the way down the flat file. And then now all your planning and reporting dashboards are also in SAC, right? We were looking at solutions, like I said on Friday, where we were looking at the data collected, and we were looking in business objects, for example, for the reporting. Okay, next, please. We talked briefly about Budget Horizons, but I want to also talk a bit about SAP Analytics Cloud, because it is the platform, and any configuration is only as good as the platform it's configured on top of. I think it's funny. It's important to me to say this because I think it's humorous and it's budgeting, guys. I have to entertain myself somehow. Cloud is in the name, right? It's a real cloud product. I've been involved in selling or implementing cloud products for many years. That goes across the board from terminal services to now, really the cloud, distributed computing in the cloud. Another big thing that I think is critical is that, for planning purposes, all future development by SAP is now going to be taken and is being brought forward in the SAP Analytics Cloud, right? SAC. Okay, let's go next. Just some quick advantages of SAP Analytics Cloud, because I want to get to the product itself, but I think these are important topics. Real-time data connectivity. That's something that our prior product, PBF, we used to really get beat up in demos on, because we were built on top of Business Warehouse at the time. And we would get beat up by folks like Workday, for example, right? But now with SAC and Budget Horizons, we have real-time data connectivity. The visualizations are beautiful. It's something I haven't been able to say about SAP software for a long time, but it's really pretty. You'll see that. Also, all the artificial intelligence capabilities for planning are in the actual platform itself. And then one last thing, because I want to get into it and show you some of these things, is the collaborative planning. And Kelsey will be demonstrating some of that today in the demonstration. Let's go to the next slide quickly, because I do want to talk about the integrations. This slide has a lot of detail on it, but I just want to give you an idea of the different types of SAP and non-SAP integrations, both live and non-live. There's a lot of options for getting data in here. And as Charlie said earlier, the power of AI is a lot of times you may not even know where the data needs to come from. But then with this tool, there's a good way we can get it in here so that you can build it into your data models, right? And that's so critical in the future. Okay, let's go next. I want to talk briefly about the AI capabilities, what are delivered currently, and then what are coming in the future too, right? So right now, the command line prompt just ask has been delivered, and that is typical like any of the other large language models, command prompt models right now like ChatGPT. What's coming and what I want to talk about quickly, and I think is the exciting part though, is the Joule, which is not just a command line prompt, but a conversational agent. And one of the common popular terms right now is AI agents. Well, this is SAP's AI agent, and it's conversational. And some of the demonstrations I've seen of it it's pretty exciting. Some of the abilities it has already. And then the last piece is the already, and I've had some good feedback on the predictive analytics and planning. A lot of the algorithms there already are pretty good at doing some pretty common trending. So those are all delivered, and in all future enhancements will be going into these products, right? The SAC products. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll finish up here with ease of use, because this is something important. We come from implementing software that was very complex, lots of different pieces. And that was one of the first things we realized when we started building out Budget Horizons. how much more intuitive and easier this was to configure. And just to give you an idea, a lot of our budget forms that we have, we're going to show you today, each one of those was probably a 2 to 3 week process in some of our prior tool sets. We could literally turn those around in 2 days with SAC. So that's pretty exciting. And you'll really see that when it comes to implementation because it's much quicker. We're going to talk, and we're going to go back one slide. I'm sorry. I just want to mention one other thing. Here is this integration with Microsoft Office. I've spent a career trying to get people out of spreadsheets. But, after 25 years of doing this, I've realized sometimes spreadsheets are important. It's the best place to analyze data. With SAC and Budget Horizons, that integration is pretty complete. And it's built in. Okay, go ahead. About the solution, let's talk briefly about Budget Horizons. And we're going to show you these pieces today, but I do want to talk briefly about it so you can see it as a complete package. We have your analysis and reporting, right? Your flexible budget entry form, so your data collection. Another big piece is your salary and benefit planning, because as we all know, especially in public sector, that's always a huge portion of your budget, right? Process management from workflow, all built in. And then you have your collaborative text and text publishing. Okay. Just a brief architectural overview. You can see that we have the SAP Analytics Cloud as the application layer. That sets on the SAP Cloud platform. And then at the very top, you see Budget Horizons along with our integration points. Next. Just quickly to kind of set the stage for the demonstration, this is an atypical budget process that we see in the field a lot of times. Not all of them have all these steps, but most of them are there where you start out with some governing authority setting some guidelines for the budget process, which typically, once those are set, data is downloaded to start the budget preparation, right? So we're going to bring in accounting data from last year, HR data, so that we can start looking at cost. The budget office brings those costs in, takes some initial looks, and then usually produces some guidance. And then that guidance gets pushed down to the departmental budget folks, where they start doing the meat and potatoes of the budget process, the data entry, the analysis. Once that's done, it's usually passed up through a review process. I won't go any further than that, but just to point out that today will be the focus of the demonstration will be that department budget formulation layer, where we're looking at some of the the day-to-day entry and consumption and review of data. Okay. And Kelsey, if you wouldn't mind, let's show them what we've been excited about.
Okay, thank you, Todd. Let me share my screen. Okay, Alanna or Todd, if you could just let me know when everyone can see my screen.
All right, you're all set.
Okay, great. Thank you, Alanna. Hey, good morning. As previously mentioned, my name is Kelsey Zeck, and I'll be walking you through the Budget Horizons solution today. So we'll get started. So Budget Horizons is a web-based application, and a user can log on through any computer without having to download a program. And they can log on directly through SAP Analytics Cloud or single sign-on through S/4HANA or SuccessFactors. So when a user first logs on, they will come to this catalog screen here. And the catalog is compiled of different tiles for the personas that interact with the budgeting process. So just for example, we have executive management, we have a few divisions, we have a department, we have capital, and we have office of budget. And these are all customized to each and every client. And a user, based on their role, is put into a team, and the tiles are based on those teams. So when a user logs on, they'll only see the tiles that are specific to their role instead of seeing everything like I'm showing today. And I also wanted to mention that we are just focusing on K through 12 today, but we also have built out 12 public sector verticals here so that we have anything else that we can look at from city to county for any other industry. But we'll go back just to the catalog now, and we are going to open what a department user would see. So this brings you to the workbench, or otherwise known as a dashboard. And this is compiled of quick links to your planning forms, widgets, and graphs. And these are all customized to whatever the client needs to see to make informed decisions. And these are all based on, these are all updated real time. So after budget numbers are changed in a planning form, these will be updated continuously. And I am not a technical person at all, but these I've been able to change in a matter of minutes, whereas prior systems to change a widget or a graph I would need a technical guy to do it, so, or a technical person to do it. And so this is great for the client where they don't have as much reliance on the technical team or on the consultants too. If they want to make a change, we can train the budget office to do this, and they can make these changes in a matter of minutes as well. So enough about the dashboard. We are going to look at one of the planning forms. The first one we're going to look at is the base budget planning. And every planning form will have different aspects of the budget, but they'll all have the same look and feel. So it goes along with that ease of use for implementation and for training purposes. So we're going to just have the example today that I am a North High School department head, because we're looking at the North High School Fund Center here. And I'm at the beginning of my budgeting cycle. And so I'm entering my plan amounts that I plan to spend for the upcoming budget year. So when that department head first comes on, they will see their actual amounts and budget amounts being brought into the page here. And then the plan amount is blank. And typically in our previous systems, the user would have to go in and update every plan amount manually, which could be like here, it could be hundreds of rows, which would be very time consuming. So we have configured a data action, and a data action is comparable to an Excel macro, where it just takes your time consuming tasks and automates them. So when we implement, we'll go in and we'll ask the client what their pain points are, what's taking a lot of time for their users to do. And we will configure these data actions to cut back on those time consuming activities. So this data action that we have is copying the actual numbers to the plan amounts for each commitment item. We're going to run that. And so you can see the plan column has been updated to reflect the actual numbers. So then the department head can go in and find those one-offs and just update a few numbers if they need, instead of updating every single commitment item. So we'll just go in and say part-time is going to go up to 70,000 this year. And then they also have the ability to add a comment, expected to increase this year. And then they have all the features as well of bold, italicize, all those same word features that users are used to. And this goes along with what Todd mentioned, as well as the collaboration that we have. So this is similar to what you would expect in social media, where you can interact with each other. So different users that are going into the budgeting system, they can write a different comment if they think that the plan amount is expected to be the same or decrease. So it can be a running conversation. And this is also necessary for workflow too, for the reviewers, if they have a different opinion or they don't agree with what the data entry person did as well. So comment section is great, which we did not have before. It was just one comment, where the collaboration is really, really nice. And this planner is multi-pages. So we're going to go to the next page. And this is the allocation of annual plan total to months. So it takes that plan amount that the data action updated or the user entered, and then splits it into 12 different months. And this does it automatically. And so we're going to take that part-time example, or that commitment item again, and we're going to pretend that the part-time employees only work during the school year and not the summer. So we are going to zero out the summer months. And you can see that the totals are updated here. And then we're going to go back to the previous page. And then you will see that the part-time number has been updated as well here. So it's great that each page, whatever number is updated, it will reflect on both pages as well. So again, the allocation, and then the last page is just a simplistic budget versus plan report. And we just did this as an example of a report, but we would ask the client what is necessary for them and how they can make informed decisions based on their numbers and what kind of graph they would like to see. So after the department head is all finished, they would click publish, and pretty much the same as a save button. And if the user forgets to save or publish data, it'll give a warning so you don't lose your work as well. So that is it for the base budget. The department user entered their plan amounts that they expect to spend for the upcoming budget year. So we're going to go back to the home screen or the catalog. And now we're going to go into what the Office of Budget would see for their dashboard. And as you can see, the Budget Office has a few more quick links where they, compared to the department, because they have more oversight and more access to the different planning forms. So the next planning form we will go into is the salary and benefit. And this data would be acquired from SuccessFactors or another client HR system. The data would be brought in automatically. And as you can see, we have the positions, employees, and their salary amount brought in, their actual amount, and their health benefit. So we have the actuals. We're going to pivot to the plan amounts to show that. And again, as similar to the base budget, the department head would come in and they would see that the plan amount is 0. So we have configured a data action as well for this to copy actual to plan again. And this would be a good example. Right now, we just have a straight copy, but we've had clients in the past say, we want to see what a 2% increase would be to reflect inflation. So that would be another option for a data action that we could do. So I'm just going to run this one and update the plan amount. And as you can see, the plan amount is now updated, and then the department head again could go in and update the one-off salaries that need to be updated for the year. And then for the health amount here, we are going to use the filter bar at the top here so you can filter on any master data option here. And so we're going to filter on just the family health benefit. And so if that needed to be updated to, let's say, 2,000 for the year, the user could update each family benefit amount for the health insurance. And so that would be all complete. And we're going to undo that filter and select all again. So we have the full data set. And then go to the next page of the workbook. And so the rest of the pages in here are all the different benefits that the employees would get. So the next one is general retirement. And so the same practice, just entering the rate. This is the rate instead of an amount like the health benefit. So they would enter the rate, and then to get the amount, it would just be the salary times the rate. And then so the department head would enter the rate for retirement, teachers' retirement, workman's comp, unemployment, and Social Security. And the only difference in Social Security is that we just have 2 rates here, FICA and Medicare, to get the total amount for Social Security. And then the last page is a report that we have, salary and benefit cost report by position and benefit. So that breaks down every position and employee with their salary amount, each individual benefit amount, total benefit amount, and then total salary and benefit amount. So it's a very large report. And as Todd mentioned earlier, that these can be, you can work with Excel and download them as well if Excel is easier to work with. And so one way that this report would be used is that one single position could be selected. Let's say the assistant principal. And then you would see here all their salary amounts and their benefit amounts. And so if you saw in here that something needs to be changed, you can go back to the individual benefit and then update that there as well, so that the filter carries through. So that is it for salary and benefit. The department head updated the salary amounts and updated the benefit amounts for each position and employee. And so publish data before going on. And then we'll go back to the home screen again. And we're going to go back to the department workbench and go into our next planning form, which would be the decision package. And decision package is a little different than the base budget and the salary and benefit planning form, whereas the decision package is a proposal to modify your department's budget that requires approval, whereas the other ones, they're already set in stone in appropriation. So this would be an example is a new after-school program that requires approval and more funding. So to do the after-school program, you would need supplies, and parts and office supplies and computers. So that would be the expenses related to the after-school program. And then if there's any revenue expected, say that you're going to charge $50 a student, you could compute how many students you're expecting and then how much revenue you expect to get from that as well. So to go back to the expense tab, another example that is common is reducing staffing. So you could reduce the number of positions or the expenses that go along with it. So if you expect that your school is going to have less student enrollment next year, so you're going to cut positions, you could put in here the amount that you expect to receive back from that cut. So, and then to add another commitment item, you can just add member. And then instead of having to add fund center, functional area, master data, you can just come in and enter the commitment item. Now we'll just say, and then so you could add another $4,000 that would be received back from that cut. So then again, with the revenue, no revenue expected, so the user could skip that. And then the narrative justification, this is really necessary for the decision package since they require approval. It adds a little bit more justification to your new after-school program or your staffing cuts due to student enrollment as well. So this is for the reviewer and workflow to understand why you are doing this new program or initiative. So that is it for the decision package. And the next two forms are capital related. So we'll go back to the home screen and then go into the capital workbench here. And typically the capital planning department oversees projects for the whole district. So instead of a department head for just a high school, it would be the capital planner for the whole district. So we are going to look at the capital budget planning form here. And you see that the capital planner has a lot less forms that they're responsible for. So we just have the two planning forms and their quick links in their dashboard. And so this is an example for the capital planner would be they need to budget for current already approved large scale investments for the next 4 years. So these are already projects that have been going on. So here we have a park that's being created. So the capital planner would come in and then input the next 4 years of expenses that they expect to spend. So if the park project is expected to be done in year 3, they do not need to enter the fourth year here. And you can see that we have this set up as a hierarchy. So they would go in and update the lower level amounts here. And that rolls up to the higher level commitment item hierarchies. And see all those are updated as well. So they would go in, update those 4 years, and then if there's any new capital projects, we'll go back to the capital workbench. And then we'll look at the new capital project requests. So this is similar to the decision package where it is newly requested capital projects that haven't been started or approved yet. So they would go in, the capital planner would go in and update. So this is an example, a new soccer field. And they would go in and update the 5 years expected to be spent for that new soccer field. And that is it for the planning forms. So just to review, we went through the main screen here, the catalog. We went through the dashboards and the planning forms and reports that the users would use in Budget Horizons. And this showcases how Budget Horizons would solve your budgeting problems while also utilizing the SAP Analytics Cloud toolset to optimize your data and make more informed decisions for your organization's future. So that is it for the demo, and I will hand it back over to you, Alanna.
Thank you so much, Kelsey. That was great. And I also just want to call out at the user interface of that was incredible. It just feels really clean and fresh and like it would be so easy to understand what I'm viewing on the screen. So with that, let's get back to our presentation deck here. And let's just make sure we've got the, yep, okay, awesome. We have some great questions coming in as well. We're going to talk a little bit about some next steps, and then we'll get into those questions in full once we finish that out. Over to you, Charlie.
Thank you. Let me ask for a sound check before I go on because we got the.
Oh, Charlie, the audio did just go out, but it looks like the mute button may have accidentally got clicked.
How about now? Better?
It sounds okay to me.
Sound good? Is it fading in and out?
Let us know in the chat if it's having a problem, though.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Excuse me. So the next steps in this journey is because your budget process is tied inextricably to your unique governing structures, your traditions, your cultures, and about 400 other variables, including your laws. Your budgeting practices are truly unique. There are some commonalities, common framework, and you can see these templates we've built reflect those common traits. But because the only way to realistically determine if any technology solution around budgeting is right for your unique world is to actually get into the how of it. So how extensive is your scope? We would ask a lot of questions around your, not just, does everybody need this? Who enters? There's 50 different questions. What kind of workflow do you need? All that around number one is your scope. Number two is how precise do you need? And when I say precise, the budget person's reflex is to make everything as precise as possible, down to the penny kind of thing. Well, the reality of budgeting is that we're planning for the future. And when you step back for a second, you don't really need to have excruciating precision in office supplies because it doesn't really change your budget too much. So there's differences in different kinds of expenses, and precision levels can vary. So we can accommodate all different levels of precision, including very complicated formulas, but we really need to understand where you really need the precision. Some of us have very large budgets and will round to the millions, and others of us need it to the dollar. We can accommodate both. Number three, how distributed is your process? And that really gets into the workflow, parallel processing. Who does it flow to? How do executives interact with it? All of that kind of thing is going to drive the solution set that you need. And then number four, how fast do you need a system? Because the reality of it is this technology is very easy, fast to implement. So if you've got emergent or fast breaking kinds of things, it's flexible enough. For example, looking at how these reductions and changes at the federal level are occurring almost daily and multiple times a day. It really, as a budgeteer, made me realize that folks really need a solution that could help them through the current budget process. So while we presented you today with solutions for budget preparation of next year's budget, the reality of it is that this technology is ready to rock and roll in helping you manage today's budget. So, we've been shaping this to try and target for no more than a 6-month implementation. But the truth is that if you got some pain points, we could go for much shorter implementations and then build out from there, kind of a thing. And then the last question is, how much can you afford to invest in over what time frame, right? So all of those go into, rather than us throwing out in a general webinar like this, some, generic number that doesn't apply to anyone. What we would prefer to do is engage with you. The logical next step is to schedule a private demo with us so we can engage in a meaningful conversation about your essential needs in these areas and understand them and really shape a solution and price it, et cetera, time frame it, schedule it, et cetera. It's going to work for you. So I urge you to work with our team to get into the how of your unique environment as soon as reasonably possible to address the current fiscal year. Because the moment is now. I mean, you're needing tools that's going to help you get through this fiscal year alone. And the barriers to entry on this solution are low. It's a cloud solution. It's strong technology. It's very stable. It's very reliable. We've been working with it for quite some time now, and we just haven't experienced any kind of issues from a reliability standpoint other than the normal maintenance schedule. And they let us know well in advance. So please engage us. And on the screen right now, you're looking at and you're seeing the contact people in our sales team that'll help us to schedule appointments with you. And we're happy to meet with you privately to get this ball rolling. Thank you. Alanna, back to you.
Awesome. So why don't we dig into some of these questions? We have a ton in the chat. I'm just going to pull up a couple of them here and we can explain further. But do know that if we are not able to get to all of them, we'll make sure to give a recap in that follow-up email. Sham has been great in the chat, just sort of giving sort of the quick answer to some of these. I'm going to take it right from the top and just find that first question that came in. So many great questions. All right, so Josh writes, does this integrate with SAP BW, DataSphere, S4, SuccessFactors, EC? If so, does this write back to the source system, or is there data imported only contained in SAC? Who wants to take that one?
Well, I believe Sham already responded to it. Both Todd and Sham responded to it. And the short answer to that question is you listed a lot of source systems there. So it's going to vary by source system and need. For example, I can tell you from a core standpoint that S4 has the ability to write back. So at the end of a budget process, you're done with your budget, you can absolutely write it back. If you're talking about, there's a live data connection if you're looking at current year. And so that's even better with S4 in terms of real time writing back data. But with respect to SuccessFactors, in our own experience, there's a little less need to write back changes in salaries, et cetera, on a real-time basis. But customizations are absolutely doable. And we would expect that depending on the needs, et cetera, that those customizations can be done.
Okay, awesome.
So the short answer is data is not only imported and contained in SAC. That is a traditional way of doing it, Josh, but there are many use cases, and the technology exists for writing back depending on the system. But S4 tends to be the primary one that SAP has created so far.
Okay, great. All right, Jody writes, is there the ability to upload attachments to the document, either decision package? And I think Sean may have gotten back to that one quickly, but if you want to just elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, I can nail that one. I can explain that one. So SAC's still in evolution, let's just say. And that can do some attachments, but not in the way that are needed typically in a budget scenario with a decision package. And so we built a BTP-based, I'll call it full version of a decision package that can handle lots of text and attachments. We're actually revising it now to improve the usability of it. We understand the technology and can craft it to meet the needs of someone's decision packages in order to be able to do that. It's a little less in SAC directly itself right now. You can add tons of text in that comment, but it's more of a conversation kind of a thing. And it's not quite the way people want to see it. And we know that. One thing that I wanted to mention in this area is that the SAC development teams are rolling out new, fresh functionality on a quarterly basis. And they've got probably, it's not just one team, there's probably 5 or 6 or 7 development teams that are working on different aspects of SAC continuously. And I'm amazed that even in the couple of years that we've been doing it, how much investment's going into it. There's a customer influence panel. Typically in SAP, you might put things into that. And with SBP, for example, the old budget system, they only release something really fresh every few years. Well, this one we're seeing them getting to stuff very fast, and so we're confident that in the new, sometime in the future, they'll get to this kind of thing because it's not just public sector that needs this functionality. There's many different use cases, and with the SAP developing seamless planning, where DataSphere and SAC are being joined much more closely at the hip with a lot of what I'll call BW-like functionality. We're expecting that the large text, et cetera, kinds of functionality is going to be part of that. So there's going to be many options we expect in the not too distant future to solve these kinds of use case issues.
Amazing. We also have another question from Jody. How easy is all funds budgeting? Is there a way to report on all funds and also drill into each of the fund types?
Yes, absolutely. Well, fund is one of the core dimensions in the public sector model, and that's part of our setup. And so, reporting against all funds in 6 different ways is no different than reporting against Fund Center, creating these stories by fund, creating panels by fund, or fund type as well. It's like any other dimension, and all the drill down capabilities that exist indigenously in SAC are available to be applied to funds and fund types.
Awesome. All right, let's take a look and see if there's any others we should pull up here. I think we may have gotten all of them. If we didn't, we'll make sure to include that in the follow-up. I do have 2 questions of my own, Charlie, if you don't mind.
Let me have them.
So I'm wondering, can we talk a little bit more about AI? How do you see AI being useful here?
Well, based on the feedback we've received so far, we had Todd and Kelsey were at the Florida ASUG chapter meeting last week. And this wasn't necessarily a big topic just in public sector, but all sectors, utilities, retail, oil and gas, you name it. AI is top of mind for everybody. And I know in the public sector, what I'm hearing from people is, you think about when it comes to budgeting alone, the kinds of things that AI can address and really help on run from the simplistic to the very complicated. And I'll give you two use cases, simply put, that you could train these AI models to handle. So the first one would be, for example, just forecasting, I'll say monthly forecasting of the current year. We all know that there's, the straight line method of just taking what have I spent so far, dividing it by the number of months and projecting that out for the rest of the year. But that just assumes an average spend, which never happens. You always have seasonality. And at the end of the year, there's always this bump in June or the last month of your fiscal year where people are spending down their budgets. And so just taking months like that, the averages just aren't helpful, right? And so that's the kind of thing you can train an AI model to have includes and excludes, et cetera. Yes, you can do that now with statistical kinds of methods, but we really believe that the AI that we've seen is going to give us the sophisticated things that actually work in real life, and it's just that we have to train it with our data. Okay, and so the other thing to think about with AI is that you need a workhorse of a solution. You need a big back end that can handle massive amounts of data. There's many of our customers that have 100 million records in their accounting system, right? And so AI, and the models, you need a big workhorse system in the cloud, and you need AI models that can crunch that data to find insights in those very large, massive data sets. And so those are the things that AI can help with. On the other end of the spectrum, for public sector, think about the text that, I have tons of things in my mind from my own personal experience. I was the kind of budget analyst that spent way too much time in the field. And so I love the ride-alongs with the police department. And I can tell you, no police department in our country, nobody goes into policing. None of these folks that do it, the men and women who do that every day, don't sit there and say, gee, I want to spend a lot of time writing my police reports. Nobody does that, okay? And wouldn't it be wonderful if AI could draft their police reports and all they have to do is adjust the data, okay? And on the other end of the spectrum, for budgeting itself, so that's operational planning, but for budgeting, the same thing applies for doing those massive budget books that so many of our governing bodies and public are fond of, that take countless staff hours. Well, let me tell you, these cuts coming down, if people think that the budget offices aren't going to take reductions, they haven't been around very long, because budget offices and staff everywhere is going to be, surgically sliced. And so AI is the kind of tool, kind of technology that if we apply it correctly and we can apply it quickly, can really help our staffs be far more productive and efficient.
Charlie, you mentioned in their big data sets. Can you talk a little bit more about how SAC can manage those large amounts of data, large volumes of data?
I touched on that before. The SAP strategy around that, and you saw an announcement 2 weeks ago about something called SAP Business Data Cloud, and they're now developing offers. They've got the building blocks in place where they're sitting there saying, well, we got DataSphere that can handle large volumes of data in the cloud. We've got SAC that can handle the analytics and visualizations. And now they've added AI, so they're building out AI products, and they've added a partnership with a company called Databricks to bring it together. So we're looking at now the convergence of all the things to be able to massively, take large volumes of data from operational kinds of things, operational planning, strategic planning. All these things can work together on the same platforms. The key thing is that when you've got large, massive amounts of data, even SAC can handle them. They just need to be broken down or decomposed into the smaller pieces rather than building one query that handles 92 or 100 million records, right? Break that down, because those different queries and the visualizations really don't apply for, it's one size doesn't fit all anymore. And that's something you saw in these dashboards. Everything's personalizable. So we're only looking at slices of your 92 million records for the police department, See what I mean? So even with SAC, it's highly manageable. You just have to do a little bit more thought work about what slice of data do I need for each. It really changes the thought process around a system, not being one size fits all for everybody, but you can take it to the next level and build it out so that everybody has a slightly different budget system with the same stuff. Now you sit there and say, well, that's a lot of maintenance, Charlie. Well, when you get into these tools, as Kelsey mentioned, you'll see this is doable because to actually change these things is really very easy. And that's why we built the templates the way we did so that your team, your staff working with us can learn how these templates were organized and structured. And you can take these templates, buy them from us, and then build your stuff on top of it or build your own. But you really got to learn how to do it first. We took us probably 3 to 4 to 5 months to really understand SAC and how it worked. But, I'm a budget guy. Kelsey's not our technology chops are good. We've been doing this for a while, but we're not geniuses. We've got back office teams that are geniuses in this area. Okay, so
don't sell yourself short, Charlie.
Well, thank you, Alanna. I'll try not to, but I think what I'm trying to do is communicate to the world, to everybody watching this, is that this is doable for budget people. This isn't. You got a super user, even a budget person, especially today. Somebody who's grown up with technology. Not some gray hair like me, but somebody who's grown up with technology, they can do this. This is designed for them.
Awesome. That's really reassuring to hear. We do have a couple more questions that did come through just now, and Sham has been sort of answering that a little bit, but maybe we can just take we have a couple more minutes in our session today, so I can just pull up this question and see if there's anything else that you guys want to add to it. So, can you explain how your support model works with these SAC stories? How do we contact you with issues, etc.? How do you handle SAC upgrades, testing to ensure everything continues to work?
Okay, so the support model is we've got let's just say we can customize it for each customer. Okay, it depends on what your team needs in terms of support. What are you going to be doing with it? We're going to have some customers that rarely make changes, etc. And we got some customers that want to take what we built and really, explode it, let's just say, and apply it elsewhere. We're happy to teach you how these. We fully expect that if you've got a pretty good BI team, that you'll be able to learn how to do this in a reasonable amount of time. Okay, and with us teaching your folks how to do it, whether you hire us to implement it or try to implement it on your own, with your own skill set, we're open to that. Okay, we do have an email address set up for Budgets Horizon support that goes to all of us. We haven't built out like some 800 number yet, but if we need one, we will. And so from a contact standpoint, we're going to adjust that based on the needs of the customer. Now, the next question is, how do you handle SAC upgrades, testing to ensure everything continues to work? Okay, so what we've got is out on the SAP Business Content Network. We've got a version 1.0 templates, right? And so if you were to buy that today, you would download that from the content network and either try it yourself or hire us to help you implement it. I fully expect, especially early on, we can shape some kind of agreement to help you implement it, to save you time, okay, more than anything. It's tougher to try and figure out what was going on in somebody's head rather than to hire them for a few months and figure it out, have them show you how to do it. You got a reasonably competent SAP BI team, you'll eventually learn how to do this on your own, and you may be well along the way. But we'll save you time, so that's worth something there. But the way that we handle upgrades is right now, for example, we're working on version 2.0, and we have that in our SAC tenant in a separate a completely separate place. So we've got it segregated from 1.0. We've got different models, stories, data actions, etc. So as SAP rolls out new functionality that's indigenous to SAC, just because it's available on SAC doesn't mean it's available, or we built it into these templates. Okay, so we see that we're going to come out with a template 2.0. You might say, well, how are you going to price that? Okay, well, that's something that we will work out with each customer at this point. We haven't fully worked out exactly what that's going to include or how that's going to go. We've got the gamut of options. And so we've got some customers that will probably want what I'll call we just want to buy it up front, and then we'll take it from here. Thank you very much. And if we need to come back to 2.0 or 3.0, we'll come back to you and buy that one. Okay. But we've got some customers that will want upgrades to the templates. So each time we come out with the 2.0 or 3.0 or 4.0, they'll want that, to be able to pull that down with just a maintenance cost. And then we've got some customers that will probably want, I'll call it a monthly subscription. Okay, so they don't want to buy it in that upfront kind of thing. They want to buy it over time, and so we'll work out pricing with them based on their size and shape and needs. Okay, so I hope this helps, but we're not going to put something out there like 2.0, and the templates for 2.0 are going to contain upgrades that are indigenous to SAC, plus the content that we've added to it. In our 2.0 list of roadmap items, we've got everything from, I'll call it public sector vertical specific things like K through 12 loves to have average salaries calculated because of the way they do their head count for schools. We know that. We didn't include it in number one, version 1.0. But it's not hard for us to do an averaging thing within SAC and do templates just for that. And so we fully expect to be rolling out specific public sector vertical techniques, et cetera, in these additional versions to continue to expand the value of our templates to our customers. There's a whole process with SAP when it comes to supplying something to the business content network. They test it.
Yeah. Amazing. So we are just a couple minutes over time. So I think it will be a good time to wrap it up. Charlie, Todd, Kelsey, thank you so much for your time today, telling us all about Budget Horizons. I am so excited about this new solution. And everyone that is stuck around a few minutes over time to hear the rest of that, thank you so much. If there's any additional questions, just know that you can always get into contact with us, and we would be happy to set up a time to talk more. And if you have any feedback for us, make sure to put that into the survey also. And there will be more coming out on this. We have more to share, so stay tuned. And we'll talk more. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. All right. Bye, guys.